Chapter 17. Raisel's voice returns. I want to see these places the kings were talking about, Prince Andor said to himself. He took his beloved stallion, Langundo, a satchel of food and water, and tied a small knife to his belt. He also took his bow and arrows, keeping them hidden under a blanket. He wore plain clothes and a cloak of undyed wool with a hood, and exchanged his royal boots for a scuffed old pair belonging to a stable hand. One day I will be ruler of these lands. How can I rule wisely that which I have never seen? Knowing his father would not grant permission for him to leave, Andor wrote a note for King Nicholas and left it on the desk in his den. By the time his father got around to reading it, Andor would be long gone. Lastly, he hung a small pouch of gold coins under his shirt with a strip of leather and departed. But Andor did not leave the castle entirely unnoticed. Vilmos's bedchamber looked down onto the stables, and he saw the prince load his horse and leave. So, Andor departs just when I need him to, thought the magician. I wonder if he'll go to there. I wonder, and this will be interesting to see, if the prince is smart enough to discover the mischief I've caused. A smile settled on his plump lips. I doubt it. But even if he is, he can't stop me. Nothing will stop me this time. Irina and Raisel met often near the wise woman's little hut throughout that spring and summer. They developed an understanding that did not involve words. Raisel taught Irina to read by reading letters in the dirt and tracing them on Irina's palm with her finger. In the evenings when she returned home, Irina would ask Octavia how to pronounce the letters she had learned that day. Octavia was surprised to find that she remembered more than she thought. Eventually, Irina knew enough to read aloud from Raisel's book. Several of the pages had been copied from the lost book of the Junsong. Please tell me what you know about the book, Irina asked Octavia one night. The lost book of the Junsong was written by Queen Jacquina when she was in hiding with her daughter, the Princess Jun, Octavia told Irina. It was during the War of Kirill. Whenever Irina read from Raisel's book, the wise woman would sit motionless, listening intently. The book contained a few spells, but when Irina tried to look at them, Raisel's gnarled hand would reach over and turn the page. Why can't I read those? They look interesting. One was about feeding your own blood to a dragon. Raisel simply shook her head and turned to another page. The truth is a wolf tracking you down, read Irina. The sword is wisdom that cuts to the quick. The hair is love that would die for his child. The words stirred a memory, and Irina stopped reading. A grey streak darted across her mind's eye. She saw fur, and then the distinctive smell of wolf came to her. She felt the wolf's breath and heard the wet sound of the wolf's tongue slavering over his teeth. Raisel watched the girl quietly. Irina was remembering the greatest wolf of the pack, Torg, a huge and frightening animal with mighty haunches and paws that could knock out his prey, or a naughty wolf pup, out cold. When I was little, we hunted the hares of the forest, Irina said. We found a little nest full of babies, and Torg was about to eat them. The mother hare ran straight in front of him and threw her body over them. I'd never seen an animal do that before. She must have known she would die. Irina shivered at the memory. She crossed her arms over her chest, frowning deeply. Why was I there, Razel? Why was I with the wolves? Razel took the stick and began drawing in the dirt. Irina stood up and came to watch over her shoulder. The wise woman drew a crown. Irina grew still and tense as she realized what Razel meant. Octavia thinks that too, but I'm not the princess. She's dead. I don't want to be the princess and live among strangers. She rubbed the crown out with her foot and stared at Razel defiantly. The old woman leaned back, as though Irina's words were objects flying through the air. You can't make me do anything, said the wolf girl, and the untamed fire flared in her eyes. She ran out of the hut into the forest, stumbling in the twilight. Amicus flew after her. After she'd gone, Razel took out a small painting from where she had hidden it under her pillow. It was a painting of Jun, the goddess of truth, with a wolf by her side. On a small piece of paperbark, she wrote a few words to King Harman. Vilmos must be up to something. For the first time in years, he had appeared in Razel's dreams. Irina's peaceful life on the farm was coming to an end. It was time for her true identity as a princess to be known, whether she wanted it or not. King Harman. Irina lives. I have seen her. You will be happy to know she has been well cared for. Razel. She gestured to one of her pigeons, and he landed beside her. Tying the note to his foot, she said to him, We can't make the truth what we want it to be. It just is. Razel paused in wonder, her fingertips at her lips. Her voice had returned.